At Easter dinner, my daughter announced, "I'm changing my last name to Stepmom. She's more of a mom than anyone." I buttered my roll and stayed silent. By next week, her law school application was missing key references, and the family friend at the firm stopped returning calls. Funny how those connections traced back to my mom. The honey-glazed ham glistened on my mother's antique platter, the same one that had graced our Easter table for 30 years. I watched the condensation form on my water glass, creating tiny rivers that pulled on a lace tablecloth. As conversation flowed around me like I was a stone in a stream. "Pass the potatoes, please," my daughter Chloe said, her voice carrying that particular tone she'd adopted since starting her pre-law program. Crisp, professional, distant. I handed her the bowl, noting how she avoided eye contact. "We've been dancing the strange dance for 2 years now. Ever since my ex-husband Marcus married Diana, a corporate lawyer who swept into Chloe's life with promises of connections and career advancement." "So, Chloe," my mother said, always trying to bridge the growing gap. "How are the law school applications going?" Chloe's face lit up, the first genuine emotion I'd seen from her all day. "Actually, I have an announcement." The table quieted. My sister Lauren caught my eye, her expression wary. She'd watched the slow-motion betrayal unfold with growing anger. But I asked her to keep the peace. Easter was for family, even fractured ones. "I've decided to change my last name," Chloe announced, her chin lifted with practiced confidence. "To Diana's, to Winters." My hand paused halfway to the butter dish. Around me, forks stopped moving. "Diana has shown me what it means to be a strong woman in law." Chloe continued, her voice gaining strength. "She's more of a mother than anyone has ever been to me. She's opening doors, making introductions, showing me how to succeed. I want to honor that by taking her name." The silence was deafening. My mother's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Lauren's knuckles were white around her fork. Even Marcus, sitting at the far end with Tiana, looked uncomfortable. I carefully selected a roll from the basket, split it open, and buttered it with meticulous precision. The scrape of knife against bread was the only sound in the room. Mom Chloe's voice held a note of uncertainty now. "Aren't you going to say anything?" I looked up, meeting her eyes for the first time in months. "Pass the green beans, please." Lauren made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. My mother reached under the table to squeeze my knee. But I just buttered my roll and took a bite, chewing slowly while my daughter waited for a reaction that wouldn't come. The rest of dinner was stilted. Conversations starting and stopping like a car with a bad transmission. Chloe kept shooting glances my way, clearly unsettled by my lack of response. Diana pined, touching her stepdaughter's arm possessively. Marcus drank too much wine. When dessert was served, my mother's famous coconut cake. I excused myself to help with dishes. Lauren followed me into the kitchen. "How are you not screaming?" she hissed, grabbing my arm. "She just said, I know what she said." I ran hot water over the plates, watching gravy spiral down the drain. "She made her choice. Diana's been in her life for 2 years. 2, you raised her for 22 years alone. After Marcus left, you worked 3 jobs to pay for her education. You, Lauren." I turned off the water. "I know what I did. So does Chloe. If she chooses to forget, that's her decision. You're really just going to let this go?" I dried my hands on the dish towel, thinking about the network of connections I'd built over 2 decades in this city. The judges I clerked for while pregnant with Chloe. The partners at top firms who remembered the young paralegal who'd helped them with crucial research while bouncing a baby on her hip. The law school admissions officers who become friends over years of legal aid volunteering. "I'm going to finish cleaning up," I said. "Then I'm going home." That night, I sat in my home office surrounded by the evidence of a career built on sacrifice and determination. Law books purchased secondhand when money was tight. Photos from legal aid fundraisers where I'd make connections while Chloe played under the tables. Commendations and thank you letters from clients I'd helped while building the network that would one day open doors for my daughter. I opened my laptop and began typing emails to Judge Patricia Hawkins. "Patricia, I need to update you regarding the recommendation letter we discussed for Chloe. There's been a change in circumstances to Professor Michael Chen at Columbia Law. Michael, thank you again for agreeing to review Chloe's application. However, I need to inform you to Sarah Goldstein at Brennan and Associates. Sarah regarding the summer internship position we discussed for my daughter." Each email was carefully worded professional, explaining that Chloe would be pursuing her legal career independently, that I could no longer vouch for her character or work ethic, that any recommendations should come through her new chosen family connections. I didn't lie. I didn't badmouth. I simply withdrew my support quietly and completely. The next morning, I called Robert Brennan directly. Robert and I had history. I'd been his paralegal during the case that made his career working 18-hour days while Chloe stayed with babysitters I could barely afford. "Vivon," his voice was warm. "Happy Easter. How's our future lawyer?" "That's why I'm calling Robert. Chloe has decided to align herself with her stepmother's family. I think it's best if any professional connections go through Diana Winters now." A pause. "Diana Winters from Conway and Black. She's Chloe's stepmother." "Yes, I see." His tone cooled noticeably. Diana had a reputation. Sharp, ambitious, but known for taking credit for others' work. And you're no longer vouching for Chloe. I think it's best as she makes her own way. "Understood. You know, Vivian, that internship position was really more about you than her. You saved my ass on the Morrison case. If you're not backing her, I understand completely." By Wednesday, the dominoes were falling. Chloe's carefully crafted law school application timeline hit its first snag when Judge Hawkins' clerk called to say the letter of recommendation wouldn't be forthcoming. Professor Chen's research assistant position promised for the summer mysteriously vanished. The Brennan and Associates internship evaporated. My phone started ringing Thursday afternoon. First Chloe, then Marcus, then unknown numbers I assumed were Diana's. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.